It's the
Solar Sci-Fi
focus of the week.
This is Michael Ball on the Solar One Sci-Fi podcast with a very special additional thing for the show. We're still on the holidays at the moment, but I've just seen Alien Romulus and I wanted to actually talk to you about it. Just to say, before I go into this, very early warning that this is actually going to contain plenty of spoilers. So if you don't want to be spoiled, please go and see it first of all, because it is worth watching. I thought I just wanted to talk about it with people because I actually really enjoyed it. I've seen all the Alien films in the past. They do vary in quality. It's strange with Alien, because when they really work, they really work, and when they don't, it's pretty tough to watch them. Obviously, the first two, Alien and Aliens, are considered the best by most people, and I can understand why. I have seen, like I said, we haven't reviewed yet the third one. Martin, I think he says it's full of generic Northerners, UK Northerners, stuck in a prison, and there is definitely an element of truth in that observation. It's a strange one, that one, because I think the problem is that they're all kind of like, they all have got their head shaved, and a lot of the actual characters don't actually stand out on their own sort of basis. So it's kind of like a bit of a mess. And of course, Ripley. Also, the problem with that film is that they get rid of all the build up from Aliens. You had Hicks and Newt, I think it was. Was it Hicks? They all get killed off at the beginning of the film in this really weird kind of like just like a sort of a logo at the side saying Newt, unidentified girl killed in a cryostasis or cryotube, whatever it is. And yeah, it wasn't very good. But some people love it. I mean, out of the first two, I actually prefer Alien to Aliens. And my daughter, actually, she's 18. She just watched Alien for the first time the other day, and then she went to see Romulus, and she really thought Romulus was much better than Alien. Again, I think that's the younger generation, which is actually what's interesting about this, that they've made the most of the cast in Alien Romulus 20 somethings. So it's a clever way of actually appealing to a younger audience, but also the clever thing is that there's enough of it that it will appeal to long-term fans. But before we go on about the review of that, I mean, I'll just quickly say that after Alien 3, there was Alien Resurrection, which, do you know what? I actually didn't mind that. I actually didn't think it was that bad. Again, these are spoilers for all the films. If you haven't seen any of them, like I said, skip if you don't want to know. But I like the idea of Ripley coming back 200 years after the last one as a clone, because she died at the end of the previous one, and she hatched a queen alien, which was it was all right, I suppose. But that was really the main part of the original Alien 3, was that she sacrificed herself to stop the alien queen from starting a new kind of cycle with new aliens and facehuggers and things. There is obviously the director's cut, which is different. I don't know which one I prefer really of Alien 3. Alien Resurrection, though, he had some interesting characters. It was a bit corny at sometimes, but I liked Sigourney Weaver's synthetic in that. Ron Perlman was in that, and you can't normally go wrong. Ron Perlman, I think he's a good actor, and most of the cast I thought were quite interesting. I like the idea that there was a lab in the future where they got this clone of Ripley, which had the alien DNA mixed in with her, and they tried to get it right, and she was clone number 8. And eventually in the film, she encounters a lab with her old previous clones, and some of them look really like the alien xenomorphs. And then, of course, they had this interesting twist where they got the queen. They separated the queen from Ripley clone. And she starts off the normal xenomorph cycle of creating the eggs with the face huggers in. But then at the end of the film, there's a different change. There's a sort of thing where she she has also has a human biological reproductive system, and then she gives birth to this really weird kind of it looks a bit like a human, but partly human, sort of skeletal kind of thing, but also slightly xeno. It was odd. I liked it. I didn't mind Alien Resurrection. And then after that, I think after that it was the Alien versus Predator films. Alien vs Predator 1 was okay, but it really didn't fit at all with the canon for the other films. Its time setting, its location. Um, and it was a bit of a gimmick, really. I mean, I like Predator. I like Aliens. Do I want to see a film where a Predator versus Aliens? Yeah, I did. I went to see it. And on the whole, it was pretty good. The sequel, Alien versus Predator Requiem, was shite. If you watch it, you cannot see a thing. You can't see a thing. It's the most dimly lit film I've ever seen. You need to put it, if you've got it at home on the TV, you need to literally get your contrast brightness up to max just to be able to make up the silhouette half the time. Terrible film. After that, we obviously had the prequels, the Prometheus. It wasn't even got the alien in the title. It was just called Prometheus, which I didn't mind. It was all right. Ridley Scott came back to do that one, and it was all about the engineers, the people who created humanity, and it was quite interesting how that was sort of done. And then a sequel features a bit more with the, well, not so much about the engineers, but they had this android in it who he's the one that sort of creates the xenomorphs, which I didn't mind it. It was okay. But and it was all this weird black goo that could change your DNA, and it can all do all sorts of stuff. And that featured, here we go into the new one, spoilers, that element does come along at the end of the film. So let's have a look. So before we actually give our review, let's give a quick synopsis of it, and obviously we'll go from there. So according to this, it says Alien Romulus is the latest installment in the Alien franchise, directed by Fed Alvarez. The film follows a group of 5 individuals and a synthetic android named Rook, who find themselves aboard a derelict space station named Romulus, where they must fight for survival against the iconic xenomorphs. Okay, I'll see what it says. It said the story begins with a group, including characters like Rain, Andy, and Tyler. Andy's an android, by the way, a synthetic, and the actor that played him was really, really good. And Rain, the actress who played Rain was good as well. So it says Rain, Andy, and Tyler come across a space station and unknowingly awaken a hive of xenomorphs. This group battles various threats, including facehuggers and fully grown xenomorphs, as they tend to escape. Along the way, they discover that the space station is involved in secretive and dangerous experiments by the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, who, of course, featured in most of the other films. And it's including the manipulation of a mysterious black goo. See, I told you it was linked with Predator, with Prometheus, which fans of Prometheus Alien Covenant will recognize. As the plot unfolds, tensions rises and several characters meeting grisly ends. The survivors have to confront not only the xenomorphs, but also the horrifying results of the experiments conducted on the station. The film concludes with a dramatic, terrifying showdown involving a human xenomorph hybrid. Actually, it was a human xenomorph engineer hybrid. Both of from one of these characters after being infected by the black goo. Yeah, it's funny because when I watched it, you do see this alien hybrid, and at first I thought it was an adult human, but when I watched it, I didn't recognize it so much at the time, but afterwards you can see that the face of this hybrid does resemble the engineers that we did see in Prometheus and Covenant as well. So I like that. Now I have to say I did like the fact that it did link with most of the other films. There are nods and winks and things that long-term fans will appreciate. It's funny, some of them work, some of them don't. There was the scene where remember Ripley said, "Get your hands off her, you bitch," or something like that in Aliens, something like that. Similar dialogue. Well, they repeated it with Andy talking to a xenomorph, and first of all, we didn't know the xenomorph was a female. Do you know what? I didn't mind it, and actually, one or two people laughed in the audience when I was there because they obviously recognised that, it was from a previous film. But I didn't dislike it. It wasn't really necessary, but in the end, the fact of the matter is that when I came out of this film, I felt thoroughly entertained. I really did think, and we all enjoyed it. It was clever enough that it stood out on its own. It was a clever way of tying in the prequels. Now, this film is set 20 years after Alien. It's actually in between Alien and Aliens. I think Aliens is 60 years after Alien. And actually, again, this is spoilers, so you know all about this. It starts off with a ship picking up, which looks like an asteroid. And it's got like something mixed in with it. And it's actually the alien xenomorph from Alien, the original movie, which was surprising. I can see why they did it, because of course the alien xenomorph had been created, and it was just blown out into space. And of course, in that film, it must have after the film, it must have survived it. Of course, you're not aware of it, that it's linked up until later on, but you do see, which is a bit odd, because in the end of Alien, when the Nostromo blows up, it actually has three major nuclear explosive elements coming out at the end. But it reminds me a bit of Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker, where we saw part of the Death Star on a planet, and you saw the edge of the disc and the curvature bit in the middle. And I thought, well, it really was completely obliterated at the end of the Return of the Jedi, and yet a whole huge chunk not only stayed together, even the bloody Emperor's chair was okay in his hall. From that, it had actually crashed on a planet, and the chair was still sitting there, although it was a bit banged up from Return of the Jedi. They did the same with this one. The Nostromo, you actually saw the edge of the ship, bits of it, but it's got the logo saying Nostromo. So, yeah, I don't know whether they should have done that. I think that it was a bit of a stretch, but who cares? We're there to be entertained. Some people really take this stuff seriously, and I take certain things seriously, but I think that Alien really, it's not that. This is, I think, the ninth film in the Alien franchise, if you include the Alien versus Predator films. And you think about some of these other franchises, which get so big and so much material that, sod it, who cares? All right. So the xenomorph and bits of the Nostromo survived, although of course at that point the alien was separated from the Nostromo. But I suppose where at the end of Alien it got blasted off by the shuttle into space, it was near the Nostromo. So anyway, you got these characters that go onto the this space station, because it's got some of those stasis chambers, and they want to get to another planet. They're on this Weyland-Yutani kind of work area, and it's horrible, and they want to get off. There's no end in sight, and they're trapped, and they just want to kind of start better lives. And this is why, again, plot holes. How do they get up to the space station? How do they get the vehicle to get up there? There are plot holes, but it's weird. I mean, like I said, I've seen a lot of the Alien films at the cinema. I think I definitely saw Resurrection. I can't remember if I saw Alien versus Predator, which is not the best example. I think I saw Alien 3, but I just remember being really disappointed by that. It just didn't feel right to me. So anyway, we came out of this film, and at the end of the movie, and came out of the cinema, and I just felt that there are a lot of elements. Now, there's another spoiler, interesting link with Alien, which I was surprised that they did, although somebody on YouTube, I'm not going to give their names, but they put a spoiler image in their thumbnail, and so I unsubscribed. I'm not going to say who they were, but okay, you do not put a character returning. This is why I've made it. I've even put spoilers on my thumbnail. If you see this in the red and everything else, right? You do not put a spoiler of a character coming back who you've not seen in Alien since 1979, about 3 or 4 days after the film's released. I'm sorry, I really get pissed off with that. Really pissed off. So again, I'll give them the spoilers, although I've already told you a lot about the film. But Ash returns, or another variant of Ash. Obviously, Ash was originally played by Ian Holm in 1979. Unfortunately, the actor has now passed away. But we had another android, which was exactly the same copy, i.e., visually is the same exterior. I think it was called Rook. And of course, they did the usual deep fake CGI elements, which I think they could have been better. It was all right. I mean, it's weird with deep fake that sometimes it really works and other times it doesn't. I remember when we saw Luke Skywalker at the end of the Mandalorian season 2, it was a bit CGI, a bit fakeish, and then he came back in Book of Boba Fett and he looked fantastic. And then I've seen like Indiana Jones, the latest one. There was a scene with younger Indiana Jones that I've done very well. But of course, they might have been able to scan the actor's face and do all sorts of stuff. Ian Holmes obviously passed away, although I understand his estate gave permission and they would have got some financial benefit for this to use his likeness. And the voice was was AI'd, and the voice of his character was really, really good. I like that a lot. I like the fact that he was tied in. He was still a kind of dodgy, sort of bad scientific kind of android character. It might have been interesting if they could have given a bit more explanation as to why this character resembled exactly Ash from the previous movie, and it makes you wonder then how many androids do they just have like a kind of place where they just like generate the same image again, the same androids with the same face, one after the other. Um, but I like that. I mean, another thing about this film is that well, like I said before, I have mentioned it before, but the cast are 20 somethings. So even though Rook was there along a lot of the film in the space station, but he wasn't there in every scene. But like I said, the deep fake didn't work 100%. It looked a bit off. But it kind of, you could say that it might have looked off because he was an android anyway. You kind of like he was a synthetic, so it could have, and he was damaged. It was only his above his torso that we had, so it could have been I don't know. I didn't mind it, and I like again that it's kind of like it kind of goes full circle in many ways. What I also loved was that the visualization of the film looked it had a good musical score, great sound effects as well, good sort of background sound, good musical score. The visuals are very very much linked up with the original Alien. We saw the CRT monitors that you had in original Alien, the same sound effects as well, and even like the screens and the same imagery and mother and all that sort of stuff. And I liked all that a lot. I liked also that again there was the usual countdown clock. Previous aliens had the attention. You only have 10 minutes to that kind of thing. I think that was done very well. This time it wasn't that the ship was well. Actually, the ship was going to blow up, but it's because it was going to hit the rings of a planet as slowly going towards a denser part. And it's going to get destroyed by the rings of a planet, which I thought was quite good. What else do I like about it? There was also a lot of practical effects. It reminds me of The Thing. When The Thing did the prequel about 15 years ago, the prequel, they originally were going to do practical effects, but they changed it last minute to CGI. That damaged the film. You really got to have a mix of CGI and practical. And of course, this film had the CGI deep fake of Ian Holm, and it did have some of the facehuggers were CGI running along, but there was also practical facehuggers, which I thought looked very good. I also thought that the xenomorph again resembled. There's always a slight difference whenever they bring back the xenomorph. Each film has its very slight variation, which I always thought was quite interesting. Actually, I don't know why they do that. It's kind of like they're putting their own stamp on the design of H.R. Giger's or Geiger's original designs from Alien from 1979. Yeah, it's a good practical effects on this film. Good jump scares. And I thought that the actress that played the new character, I thought she was good. I'll have to look up her name again, but she was very very good. The character that played Rain, was she as good as Sigourney Weaver? No, I mean Sigourney Weaver, you can't really go wrong with Sigourney Weaver, can you? I mean, she was such a strong kind of character and really stood out. And but she was good. She was like a younger. She was like Ripley, really. She. I also liked what I liked about it was that, of course, she had this almost like sibling relationship with Andy, the synthetic. And I like that a lot. The chemistry between those two in that relationship, well, it was good. It stood out. It works. I mean, those two characters were the strongest of the whole film. Most of the other characters are a bit forgettable. I can't remember. I think one of them was the ex-boyfriend of her character at one point. You get the guy that hated synthetics. Andy, the actor, I can't remember the actor, but he was really good because there's one scene where he has to put in a data clip of another android, and his personality changes quite a lot during those scenes. And I would really like to see him come back in this role. I mean, from what I understand, the film has actually had a good start in the box office. It was originally not going to be released in the cinema. It was going to be a straight to streaming thing. And I think quite last minute they decided to think, well, stuff it. Let's just go. Let's let's put it out there and see how it does. And yeah, it's done well. And it makes me hopeful that we're going to get some sort of continuation, at least of the two main characters. Again, you don't know how it's going to go. I mean, they survived at the end. I think they survived. Yeah, they both survived at the end, didn't they? I can't remember now. I've got to think about that. Yeah, I'm sure they did. So I was just thinking because obviously Andy at one point he gets taken over, but yeah, it was a good film. It was solid. It's a film where I really need to see it again to kind of assimilate it properly. There's a lot that happens. Um, but I definitely came out of the film with a good positive feeling. I think it was a good production. It was done well by everybody involved with it, and it's going to reinvigorate the Alien franchise because, after the two prequels, it kind of stalled. A lot of people didn't like the prequels, and they were kind of like a sub thing. I mean, but I didn't mind those either. Like I said, I think my least favorite. I did a poll on YouTube here, which hopefully you voted for. It's still on my community tab if you want to go for it. Actually, what's the ratings of it? I'll have a look actually as I'm talking now to see how it's doing. But I was surprised by how the votes were going. What I'll do is a few people made some comments, so I'm sure they won't mind if I read out their info, what they said to me. So the community tab. So I said on my poll, I said Alien and Aliens are considered the best films in the Alien franchise. I haven't seen Alien Romulus yet. Obviously, this was just before I saw it and I posted this. However, which do you consider the next best film to feature an alien xenomorph? I.e., you actually see a xenomorph, which Prometheus you don't. So I couldn't include that. So the four films I included was because obviously you've only got the four with the imagery is Alien 3, Alien Resurrection, Alien Covenant, and Predator versus Alien. Okay. Now I'll just say from the get go that my least favorite Alien film is Alien 3. I don't like it, but I will put in reverse order the most popular film in these four categories. So it's Alien 3, Alien Resurrection, Alien Covenant, Alien Predator versus Alien. At 15%, Alien Resurrection. I'm surprised about that. No. At 18%. Alien Covenant. I think I prefer Resurrection to a Covenant. At 24%, Alien 3. Okay. I don't know why that's so popular. I mean, I think that film was a bit of a mess. And the most popular, 43%, Predator versus Alien. Predator versus Alien. I mean, come on. You can't see it on it, doesn't show there. Predator versus Alien. It probably won't show up on there. Yeah, I'm sorry. Predator versus Alien. It's right down. I mean, it's better than Predator versus Alien Requiem, but it's not good. So, okay, the comments are. So I'm going to read out the comments from people because I think why not? Why not? So at Mass Produced said Prometheus for me because it was more of answering questions about how things came to be and why the engineers wanted to kill us because of what we did to Christ in return. Okay. I didn't read that bit about the religious aspect. The deleted scenes show how it was a more religious movie. Yeah, I suppose it had that. I can see that. Yeah, I can see that. It's very more of a philosophical alien movie in the franchise that I really love. Yeah, that's a fair comment. I didn't really think about the religious aspect, but yeah, that's a fair point. Here's this one. George Madigan 4961, I think it is. Aliens, the director's cut. The bits originally cut back explain it better, and the automatic gun turret's great. Well, yeah, I mean that wasn't on the list, but of course Aliens is popular. I always thought it was a bit overrated. I do like Aliens, but I didn't. My son saw it with me recently for the first time, and what really got on his nerves was Newt kept screaming. "Ah!" He said it drove him nuts. Another person, Aka Jawal A44742, I think it is. I need to get better eyesight. I can hardly read these. He or she like covenants. Michael, oh God, I can't read these. Michael something play 4528. Love them all, but Resurrection is great. The first Alien movie 2. Number 3 is like random but okay. And then he says, hang on, let's go back because my page has just changed. Looking forward to the next one, though I was disappointed that Ripley was not in the Covenant movie. I still liked it though. And then the last person, Sam Knowles 83 says Romulus is awful. So again, it's when you talk about these things on YouTube, you have to obviously give your opinion, but not everyone's going to like it. If he thought that Romulus was awful, then he's entitled to his opinion. I don't agree, but in the end, I think it's definitely worth watching. So I think that's pretty much all I've got to say about it, really. It's certainly been an interesting one, and I'll actually, like I said, I'll have to sort of see what people think about it. But until that's pretty much it. So check it out. I would like to get your opinions about it. Obviously, if you see it, please put a comment below, as I'd love to hear what you think about it, and we'll see how it goes after that. So, yeah, check it out. So we are still on our holiday for the moment. We are going to be back. Probably beginning of this in September after we finish our holidays. I think Martin still wants to review the latest Planet of the Apes film, which I've not yet done the graphics for and everything. But I did watch it. I've watched it. I thought it was very, very good. That's another strong film, which I think you should check out. But after that, we've got plenty of things to review. We're probably going to be talking about the end of the Acolyte's been cancelled, which is a real shame. But like I said, I didn't hate it as much as other people. I could see why it was cancelled, but I don't know. It's Star Wars. It's one of those franchises where I always just like new content, even if it's a bit saturated with all the stuff that they've done. But that's how I feel about it. So thanks for checking this out. So we'll be back in September with Martin. Hopefully Malcolm will be back as well. I don't think either of them have seen this yet, so I couldn't even actually consider doing a shared podcast with them because they haven't seen it and they might not want to get spoiled. So hopefully they'll enjoy it like I did. So thanks, guys, everybody. We'll be back very soon on the Solo One Sci-Fi podcast. Live long and prosper.